Welcome to the Kinky List by Skoob, the podcast that dives deep into the fascinating world of alternative relationships and intimate dynamics. I'm your host, Zara Black, and today we're exploring one of the most misunderstood yet profoundly meaningful practices in adult relationships: pet play. Before we begin, I want to be clear. This episode is intended for mature audiences and focuses on consensual adult practices. We'll be discussing how couples use animal roleplay to deepen intimacy, explore power dynamics, and create unique forms of connection that go far beyond what meets the eye. So, what exactly is pet play? At its most fundamental level, pet play is about transformation, the conscious decision to step outside the boundaries of human identity and embody the characteristics, behaviors, and energy of animals. But here's what's fascinating. This isn't just about putting on a costume or acting silly. It's about accessing parts of ourselves that our everyday human personas rarely get to express. Think about it this way. When was the last time you moved through the world without the weight of human responsibilities, social expectations, or that constant internal dialogue about what you should be doing, saying, or thinking? Pet play offers participants a profound escape from these pressures by allowing them to inhabit a space where communication becomes nonverbal, where physical sensation takes precedence over mental chatter, and where playfulness isn't just permitted, it's essential. The transformation begins with something as simple as changing your physicality. Imagine encouraging a partner to stand taller and prouder, like a magnificent horse, a gentle pet on the back, a whispered reminder to keep their head high. These small physical adjustments begin to shift not just posture, but entire emotional states. For those exploring four-legged positions, the world literally changes perspective. Suddenly, you're seeing everyone at a different height, experiencing the vulnerability and unique viewpoint that comes with being closer to the ground. But here's the beautiful thing about pet play. You don't need expensive equipment to begin this journey. The most powerful transformations often start with the simplest elements. Binding arms back with basic cuffs can instantly create the physical restrictions that help someone embody a pony. Encouraging someone to ball their hands into fists creates pause. Even something as mundane as gardening knee pads becomes a tool for extended comfort during crawling activities. The key is approaching this exploration with curiosity rather than rigid expectations. Instead of having a predetermined outcome in mind, successful pet play emerges from genuine experimentation and discovery. What does it actually feel like to crawl across a room? How does your breathing change when you're moving on hands and knees? What emotions surface when you curl up under your partner's legs and simply allow yourself to be petted? These aren't just physical exercises. They're gateways to entirely different states of consciousness and connection. Now, let's talk about the incredible diversity within pet play. While many people might immediately think of puppies or kittens, the world of human-animal roleplay is vast and varied. The most common dynamic is pony play, where participants are drawn to equine qualities like strength, elegance, and grace. Some pony players want to be show ponies, prancing beautifully for spectators, being fed sugar cubes as rewards for coordinated routines. Others are called to be workhorses, pulling their partners in carts, experiencing the satisfaction of physical exertion followed by the tender care of being washed down afterward. The archetypes within pony play alone are fascinating. The feisty filly full of spirit, the powerful stud stallion radiating confidence, the wild palomino that can't quite be tamed, or even the old nag ready for retirement. Each carries different emotional energies and invites different types of interaction. Canine play is equally rich. Puppy players often connect with traits like loyalty, playfulness, and unconditional devotion. There's something profoundly liberating about embodying that eager-to-please energy that dogs naturally possess. Human puppies get to experience the world from a completely different vantage point, literally seeing everything at crotch level, which creates its own unique psychological dynamic. Within puppy play, you might encounter the yappy energy of a toy poodle, the working dedication of a sled dog, the pack leadership of an alpha wolf, or the pampered existence of a prized chihuahua. Each archetype invites different forms of play and interaction. Feline dynamics offer yet another dimension. Cats embody fascinating contradictions. They can be incredibly affectionate and cuddly one moment, then aloof and independent the next. This dichotomy appeals to people who want to explore both the loving, sensual aspects of feline behavior and the more standoffish, dignified characteristics. You might encounter the pretty kitty who loves to be admired, the lost kitten seeking comfort, the cranky house tabby who demands respect, or even wild felines like bobcats and lions. But the creativity doesn't stop there. I've encountered human ferrets with their own jingly toys, people exploring the aesthetics of bunny personas, and even more exotic choices like zebras, dolphins, or mythical creatures like dragons. Farm animals appear in some dynamics, particularly in contexts involving humiliation or service, while others are drawn to smaller creatures like worms or insects for entirely different psychological reasons. The personality aspect is where things get really interesting. You can choose whether your animal persona reflects your everyday personality or represents something completely different. If you're typically easygoing, you might enjoy exploring the defensive energy of a Doberman. If you're usually reserved, perhaps the bouncy playfulness of a golden retriever calls to you. The power of naming cannot be understated here. Are you lady or beast? Pinky or Lancelot? These names carry psychological weight and immediately communicate something about the dynamic to expect. Once you've chosen your species and personality, the question becomes, who are you interacting with? This is where the human side of the dynamic becomes equally important and complex. Some pet players prefer solo experiences, playing with toys, eating from bowls, or simply existing in their animal space without human interaction. But most find the greatest fulfillment in the relationships between their animal selves and human characters. The role of pet owner carries deep psychological significance. There's pride involved, the satisfaction of having a well-trained, beautiful pet to show off. There's also the profound intimacy that develops as pet and owner grow into their roles together. This isn't just about control. It's about mutual investment in each other's experience and growth within the dynamic. Pet trainers occupy a different but equally important space. While owners might focus on pride and possession, trainers are about development and structure. They create regimens, establish formal protocols, and use positive or negative reinforcement to help the animal become the best version of their pet self. For people drawn to dominance and submission dynamics, the trainer role offers opportunities to push boundaries and facilitate growth through structured interaction. Then there are handlers, people who simply enjoy interacting with pets without the investment level of owners or trainers. Handlers might be the ones petting the kitty, playing tug-of-war with the puppy, or taking a ride on a willing pony's back. This role can be perfect for stress relief or for people who want to engage with pet dynamics without taking on the responsibility of ownership or training. What's beautiful about these roles is their fluidity. The same person might be an owner in one context, a handler in another, or even switch between being human and animal, depending on the situation or their partner's needs. Let's address the elephant in the room, or should I say, the pony in the stable. When people see professional pet play photography with $1,000 harnesses and elaborate setups, it can feel intimidating. But here's the truth. The most meaningful pet play often happens with the simplest tools. Collars are perhaps the most symbolic pieces of pet play equipment. Whether made from leather, neoprene, or metal, they serve as psychological anchors, visible reminders of the dynamic and the connection between pet and handler. Some are purely decorative, adorned with tags or bells that create auditory elements to the experience. Others include D-rings for leashes or restraints, bridging the visual fantasy with functional control. Leashes extend this connection literally and figuratively. The physical sensation of being led or leading someone creates an immediate shift in psychology. Leather leashes provide weight and the satisfying sound of creaking. Chain versions offer different sounds and sensations, while silicone options allow for quieter, smoother guidance. The act of holding or wearing a leash instantly communicates and reinforces the power dynamic at play. Masks and hoods are transformative in ways that go beyond the visual. They alter breathing patterns, restrict or change speech, and can limit vision, all of which help quiet the self-conscious human mind and allow more instinctual, animal-like behavior to emerge. High-quality pieces often include textured features like snouts, ears, or muzzles that enhance the tactile illusion. For many, putting on a mask is like flipping a switch that allows their animal self to surface without inhibition. Tails serve as visible emblems of transformation. Whether attached via belts, plugs, or harnesses, they provide constant awareness of the animal role. The weight, movement, and position of a tail can mirror and influence emotional states. A wagging tail communicates excitement and happiness, while a tucked tail might indicate submission or nervousness. The materials range from realistic fur to sleek silicone, each providing different sensations and aesthetics. Harnesses blend decoration with function beautifully. They distribute pressure evenly during activities like crawling or pulling, making extended scenes more comfortable and sustainable. Pony-oriented harnesses might include chest plates, bit gags, or decorative bridles that closely mimic actual equestrian equipment, adding layers of realism and psychological immersion. But remember, creativity often trumps expense. Mitts that restrict hand use can be improvised. Hoof boots that reshape movement can start with simple modifications to existing footwear. Sound props like bells or clickers, feeding bowls, or even cardboard cages can elevate the experience without breaking the bank. The goal isn't to have the most expensive gear, it's to find the tools that help facilitate the psychological and emotional transformation you're seeking. Now we come to perhaps the most important question. Why? Why are people drawn to pet play, and what does it offer that other forms of intimacy don't? At its core, pet play provides something increasingly rare in our modern world: the opportunity to completely shed adult human concerns. Think about the mental load you carry every day: work responsibilities, social expectations, financial pressures, the constant need to make decisions and present a competent adult face to the world. Pet play offers a structured escape from all of that. When someone takes on a pet role, they're not just pretending to be an animal. They're accessing a state of being where their primary concerns become simple: pleasing their human, being cared for, playing, and existing in the moment. This can be profoundly psychologically liberating. The pet doesn't have to worry about paying bills or managing complex adult relationships. Their world becomes beautifully, refreshingly simple. For many, this simplification creates space for emotional healing. People dealing with anxiety, trauma, or the general stress of modern life often find that the pet role provides a safe container where they can be vulnerable without judgment. The unconditional acceptance inherent in good pet play dynamics, where the pet is cherished simply for being themselves, can be deeply therapeutic. The nonverbal communication aspect is equally powerful. When language is removed or simplified, partners must tune into subtle cues, body language, and emotional states in ways that deepen intimacy. A purr, a tail wag, or the way someone positions their body communicates volumes without a single word being spoken. From the handler's perspective, the caretaking role activates different aspects of personality. There's the protective instinct, the nurturing desire to provide comfort and care, and often a deep satisfaction in being needed and trusted at such a fundamental level. The responsibility of caring for a vulnerable pet can be deeply fulfilling and can strengthen the emotional bonds between partners. The power exchange elements cannot be ignored either. The consensual giving up of control by the pet and the accepting of responsibility by the handler creates a dynamic of trust that can be incredibly intimate. Unlike some forms of domination that might feel harsh or punitive, pet play power exchange is typically rooted in care, protection, and mutual benefit. Let's talk openly about the sexual aspects of pet play, because while not all pet play is sexual, for many couples, it adds profound dimensions to their intimate life. Pet play can revitalize sexual relationships by introducing novelty, playfulness, and different modes of expression that move beyond conventional sexual scripts. The roleplay aspect encourages creativity and exploration, allowing partners to access states of being that might be difficult to reach in everyday interactions. Consider the physicality involved. Being led on a leash creates unique sensations and psychological states. The vulnerability of crawling while your partner walks upright shifts the power dynamic in immediate, visceral ways. The act of being petted, brushed, or groomed engages the sense of touch in ways that can be both soothing and arousing. The psychological dimensions are equally important. Being owned can amplify feelings of desirability and worth. There's something powerful about being chosen, claimed, and cared for. For the owner, the control and responsibility can translate into strong erotic charge. This isn't just about physical dominance, it's about being trusted with someone's vulnerability and having the power to provide pleasure, comfort, and guidance. The ritual aspects of pet play often enhance sexual experiences. The process of transformation, putting on collars, adjusting posture, settling into role, creates anticipation and helps partners transition into different psychological spaces. These rituals can be deeply erotic in their own right, separate from any specifically sexual activities that might follow. Pet play also allows people to access more primal, instinctual expressions of sexuality. The animal persona can provide permission to be more physical, more expressive, less inhibited than everyday human personas might allow. There's something liberating about communicating desire through body language, sounds, and physical positioning, rather than complex verbal negotiations. For couples, the trust required to engage in pet play authentically often translates into deeper sexual intimacy overall. When you've experienced the vulnerability of being someone's pet, or the responsibility of caring for their animal self, it creates bonds that enhance all aspects of the relationship. What makes pet play truly unique is how it integrates physical, mental, and spiritual experiences in ways that few other practices achieve. Physically, pet play demands presence in the body. Many of us spend our days disconnected from our physical selves, ignoring the tension in our shoulders, the way we hold stress, or the simple pleasure of movement. Animal role play brings immediate awareness to the body. You can't successfully crawl across a room while mentally planning tomorrow's meetings. The physical demands of the role require full engagement with sensation, posture, and movement. This physical awareness extends to sensory experiences that we typically ignore or suppress. When someone takes time to actually smell and taste their environment as an animal would, or to listen more carefully to sounds and tones, they're engaging with the world in fundamentally different ways. The experience of being brushed, petted, or groomed can activate nerve endings and create awareness of skin and touch that translates into greater overall sensory sensitivity. Mentally, pet play offers the unique experience of stepping outside human cognitive patterns. The animal mind isn't concerned with complex planning, social hierarchies, or abstract concepts. It's focused on immediate experience, relationships, and simple pleasures. This mental shift can be profoundly restful and can provide perspective on human concerns that seem overwhelming in normal consciousness. The spiritual dimension is perhaps the most personal and varied. Some people are drawn to pet play through connections to animal spirits, totems, or shamanic practices. They might feel an energetic resonance with particular animals that goes beyond role-playing into genuine spiritual identification. Others describe experiences of ego dissolution or transcendence when fully immersed in their animal persona. There are individuals who identify as Therian, people who feel their energetic or spiritual body doesn't match their physical human form. For these individuals, pet play isn't just role-playing, it's accessing and expressing their authentic energetic identity. Many participants report moments of spiritual insight or epiphany through pet play experiences. When you see the world from a radically different perspective, literally and figuratively, it can shift your understanding of relationships, power, vulnerability, and connection in ways that extend far beyond the scene itself. For listeners intrigued by these concepts, the question becomes, how do you actually begin exploring pet play? The beauty is in starting small and allowing the experience to evolve organically. Begin with simple physical experiments. Try crawling across your living room and notice how it feels different from walking. Experiment with eating without using your hands. What does that do to your relationship with food and your awareness of taste and texture? Play with making animal sounds or movements and observe what emotions or sensations arise. The laser pointer exercise is a perfect example of simple beginning exploration. Having a cat chase a laser beam around a room might seem silly, but it can quickly reveal the joy of letting go of self-consciousness and embracing playful, instinctual responses. Spend time curled up against your partner, letting them pet you without talking or engaging in complex human interaction. What does it feel like to be appreciated simply for your presence rather than your conversation or accomplishments? The key is approaching these experiments with curiosity rather than pressure. Not every experiment will resonate, and that's perfectly fine. The goal is discovery, not performance. As you identify elements that do resonate, you can gradually increase complexity. Perhaps basic restraints that help maintain the animal posture, simple props that enhance the sensory experience, or more elaborate role-play scenarios that sustain the dynamic for longer periods. But remember, investment in expensive equipment should come only after you're certain that you and your partners genuinely enjoy the core experiences. The most meaningful pet play often happens with the simplest tools, because the transformation is primarily psychological and emotional rather than dependent on external props. Let's address something crucial that often gets overlooked in discussions of pet play: the profound responsibility that comes with these dynamics. When someone offers themselves as a pet, they're giving a tremendous gift of trust and vulnerability. They're temporarily setting aside their adult human capabilities and defenses, placing themselves in a position where they genuinely need care and guidance. This level of trust must be matched by genuine responsibility from their human partners. This doesn't mean handlers need to provide for every possible need, but it does mean taking seriously the duty to maintain safety, comfort, and emotional well-being during scenes. Before anyone gets into character, practical considerations need attention. Who's bringing water and snacks? What safety items might be needed? How will communication work if verbal language is restricted? What are the signals for slowing down or stopping? Many pets have preferred items: a special collar, favorite toy, or treasured tail that helps them access their animal self more easily. Using these familiar objects can deepen the experience and help sustain the role for longer periods. The feeding aspect of pet play deserves special attention. Whether it's serving chili in a bowl on the floor, which might look remarkably like dog food, or hand-feeding treats as rewards, these activities tap into primal nurturing and dependency needs. The act of feeding and being fed creates intimate bonds that go beyond the specifically sexual into fundamental human needs for care and provision. Regular check-ins, even within role, are essential. A pet's well-being should always take precedence over maintaining the scene. Good handlers develop sensitivity to their pet's nonverbal cues and needs, learning to read signs of discomfort, fatigue, or emotional overwhelm even when explicit verbal communication is limited. As we wrap up today's journey, remember this: at its core, pet play is about connection. It's a space where vulnerability is not weakness, where stepping away from constant adult performance becomes an act of trust. For some, it's the relief of being cared for. For others, it's the responsibility and intimacy of offering that care. What surprises many is how deeply these dynamics can transform communication, trust, and emotional awareness far beyond the scene itself. Pet play reveals that intimacy doesn't follow a single script. Play and power, care and desire, simplicity and depth can exist together in profound ways. But this episode only scratches the surface. What really happens when roles blur? How do these dynamics reshape relationships in ways few talk about openly? To hear the full story, deeper insights, and the moments we couldn't fit into this episode, download the Skoob app now. Get exclusive access to the complete conversation and explore the layers of connection that go beyond the obvious. Until next time, stay curious, stay communicative, and keep exploring what intimacy can truly mean.